All right, we ready to roll. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get straight to it. Yeah, I just wanted to teach you guys how to go about soloing. Okay, a lot of times we can kind of make this seem a little bit, mysterious, but really, it's kind of simple. Depends on whether you know some basic stuff. Okay, now you need to know what an arpeggio is, right? And you need to know your modes. You can't really get past this without knowing your modes. So, real quick, modes. Wrote a whole little thing on there. Okay, let's see if I can get this all in frame. Can it fit all in frame? Okay, gotta go over this way. All right, yeah. So turn it like this. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, the first we're gonna take the C major scale, for example, right? As you can see here, the C major scale, we got a one next to it. Our modes are basically starting on different notes of the C major scale. So, for example, we're going to start on D for the second mode because that's the second note of the C major scale, right? And then we just go through the same notes that the C major scale has in it, but starting on D. And so at the end, right there, you have a C because we skipped the C in the beginning and started on D. So it goes to the end. And then the same thing keeps going and keeps going and it keeps going right until we do all seven modes. Okay. It keeps going until we do all seven modes. Okay. Right. So that's the modes. That's all they are. It's just starting on different notes of the major scale. See, as you can see. Right. Right. So all seven modes right there. It's just playing the same notes from that C. Right. And then once you know that, right, we didn't have to know, we need to know the arpeggios, okay, that they come from. So these are all seven arpeggios from that. And I would say if you're going to take one thing first, learn the arpeggios first. And why the arpeggios? Because the arpeggios are just the chords, right? The scale is kind of a little bit, it's like how you get to these notes, but it's a little bit like it's harder to see the application if you go to the scale. So you want to go to the arpeggio first. The arpeggio is just the chord, right? So if you think about learning a song, right, you're going to learn the chords. And if you play the arpeggio, you're just playing the chords of that song. So that's why this is more important because it already gets you to the music faster, right? So this is all seven of our modes in the key. I'm sorry, all seven of our arpeggios in the key of C, right? And then down here we just have the names. This is the Greek name, right? And our Roman numerals, right? The uppercase Roman numerals are a major, the lowercase ones are minor, right? Okay, so then that's the names. Sorry, that's the names of them. It's hard to look at the camera and do this, but that's the names of them: Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. And so you have to remember the names too, and because you're right, it's just like if you say Mixolydian, I know exactly what you're talking about. If you say the five chord scale, that could mean a lot of different things. So you need to know what the names of those modes are. All right, so once you grasp all of this, we're going to start with something as simple as the blues. Okay, we're going to start with the blues. We're going to start with the blues. Let's say we're playing a G blues. Okay, where are we starting? So the reason why we're going to start with the blues is because everybody accepts that as like something that's standard. There, I got a little mark on my hand right now. Everybody accepts that as a standard. Okay, so and then it's also easy enough to use this kind of concept on, right? It's just three chords. So if we're playing a G blues, our first chord is going to be a G7. Okay. Then the four chord is going to be a C7. And then the five chord is going to be a D7. So you, first of all, you want to familiarize yourself with those chords, right? right? You want to familiarize yourself with the sound of those chords, right? And then we're going to take, okay, so everybody knows the pentatonic scale probably. If you're watching this, you should know the pentatonic scale. So if you know the pentatonic scale, you're good to go, or at least from that standpoint. We're talking about the next step from there. All right. So let's take the arpeggio of the G7. Now, only one of the modes is a dominant seven. G is G dominant seven, really. All right, that's what we use in the blues, a G dominant seven. Only one of those notes, only one of those in the modes is a G7, right? And that's going to be the fifth mode right here. Okay, so that means that we can play right this G dominant seven and a Mixolydian scale, and we'll get good results, right? So a G dominant. I had an extra note in there, but G, that's a G Mixolydian scale. All right, so then we just want to take that arpeggio that we have in there. So let's say we're playing that G, the G chord. Right, that's just the notes of the G7. Right, so just right there, you already are playing the music. Right, so if I just did that and I played through the blues, let's see what that sounds like. So right, it's already sounding like I'm playing the blues. Right, and I just only played the arpeggio, so that's where you can hear the music already in that. Right. All right. So now let's add some other concepts to that. Right. Because maybe you're saying, I already know that. I get that. But how can I explore some other things? Right. So, first of all, we had to understand that we can also play with the arrangement of that arpeggio. Right. We don't have to just play it in order. Oh, sorry. Right. That's boring. All right. It can be boring. Right. We can play it in different orders. What if we play 1, 5, 3, 7? Right. Right? That's just one example. Let's say we go 1, 7, 5, 3. Right? So you can already play with just those notes being rearranged in different orders already with that. Okay. And then some other things we could think about is going to be all right. So then let's take the chord tones. Let's say the chord tones, right? So we have in the chord tones right here, we have a G, a B, a D, and an F, right? So if we made an arpeggio built on the third, well, let's look at that. We already have it right here, and that would be our seventh mode. This is what we call a half diminished seventh chord, right? So it's a B half diminished. So if I play B half diminished, because I'm just taking it from the third, I just took that and I'm adding that. Let's say I added that to my G7, right? What does that give me? Let's see what it sounds like. Let's play the G half diminished. I'm sorry, a B half diminished. I'm sorry. So. Right? I just played an arpeggio. I just played a B half diminished arpeggio. All right, sorry, I need a little more gain here. All right, there we go. All right, so yeah, so I played B half diminished right there. Now let's add B half diminished and G7 together. What kind of sounds can we get? Let's try it out. I'm just gonna play 1, 3, 5, 7 for G7. Then go to the B half diminished. Right, so if I'm playing. little bit of mess ups in there, but as you can hear, I already showing you like just two concepts in there, right? I took the B half diminished and I took G7 and combined them, and you got something interesting sound there, right? And then again, if you're taking the different kind of permutations that you can do with that, right? You got 1 5 3 7, right? 1 5 3 7. And I can do that same kind of concept over the B half diminished, right? So right, what I do? Yeah, 1 5 7. 1 5 3 7. Right. So then 1 5 3 7. Right. And this is where it gets interesting because now I can make a pattern, right? Patterns make your solos more interesting too, because it sounds like your song. It sounds like your solo is going somewhere, right? So if I just make a pattern of that, where I just go back and forth between the two, and just in their bass form, right? All right, sorry. Right? It sounds like it's going somewhere. Now if I invert them, right? So I didn't talk about inversions, but inversions is just rearranging the order of just those arpeggios, right? So we have 1 1 3 5 7. We gonna have 3 5 7 1. Right? I'm just changing the order. I took the one that was at the bottom and put it up top. That's inversions, right? Then we can go 5 7 1 3, right? And then the last one being 7 1 3 5, right? And I can invert the B half diminished as well, right? And that gives you an interesting sound, right? So if you're playing the blues again, all right, right? That's already interesting enough right there. And so right? And then if I take those notes, right? Let's look at it. Because it's important that you always are looking at what you're trying to do, right? So I took the 5 and I took the 7 and combined it. If I combine those notes that are in there and put them in alphabetical order, what kind of scale do I get? Well, first of all, let's look at what is added that's different between the two. What is added? Only note that we added that was different from there is A, right? So if I add an A to just this, which the A is going to go between the G and the B, then we get a pentatonic scale, right? Pentatonic just meaning 5. We get 5 notes, right? So let's hear what that sounds like. Listen to the notes in order, right? Right. Now I have another kind of pentatonic scale that I can play instead of just playing, your normal minor pentatonic, right? Because I might get, now I want to go, right? Right. So I just made up a pentatonic scale. I didn't make it up, but it already exists. But the point is that it's there for you to use, right? So now you have what, I don't know, 3 different things that we just added with those, right? I was able to make those 2 arpeggios, and I combined the 2 arpeggios together to get us a pentatonic scale just from that, right? So we also have the inversions of everything, and then we have us playing them together, right? Mixing them up, right? That's a lot of different choices, right? Let's keep going. Let's go to the 5. So what is the 5? The 5 in the G dominant. Sorry, the 5 in the G dominant is going to be D, right? Where is that D going to come from? The D is going to come from the second mode, right? So we got a D minor seven arpeggio now, right? Let's listen to what that sounds like, right? Right? I just played a D minor seven. Going back to that G dominant arpeggio. You kind of have to bring it back because otherwise, if you play D minor too long, you'll just sound like you D minor, right? So you want to relate it or legitimize it by bringing it back to that chord tone, right? So right, you want to bring it back to one of those chord tones. That's the key to that. And then we still thinking about all of those different inversions, and we're thinking about all the different uh, ways we can use that, right? So let's think about also combining them together. Well, let's look again. What's the difference? The difference between the two. Let's look at it, right? So we have, they both have D's, they both have F's, they both don't have A's, and they both don't have C's. So our A and C are new. So if we combine A and C to the G scale, we get a what's that, hexatonic scale, right? So we're adding a A and a a C, an A and a C, right? So this is that. This is what it sounds like. Right now we got a new scale. Only note that's not in there is a six, right? So right, I just combined the D minor arpeggio and the G7 arpeggio. So now you can start to see where what really is what we need is really those arpeggios, and arpeggios are creating these scales. So there's a number one thing again that you need to know first is they're all your arpeggios, man, because their arpeggios are going to give you access to what those scales can be. And it's important that you kind of write some of this stuff out too, because as you can see, it can get a lot confusing if you're trying to just think about it in the top of your head. All right. So you don't want to do that. So now we have a G7, we have a B half diminished, and now we have a D minor seven arpeggio. Okay. And then we go to the seventh note, right? Because we got four total. So the seventh note is our F. Well, where does the F come from in the key of C major? The F is the four chord in the C major. We have we have F A C E. F A C E. I'll see that. All right, so that is a major seven arpeggio. So now I can add a F major seven arpeggio to my G dominant seven. And by the way, just so we can go ahead and get this out the way here, this has the same notes that are different as the second one did. Okay, so not really much different here. Oh, I guess we have an E. My bad. My bad. We do have an E. So yeah, so the E is the only thing different in these two. All right, so that arpeggio we can get from there. All right, so let's just hear what that sounds like, right? We just hear that F7, right? 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 I just combined, that's what we call a triad pair too, right? I just combined the F and G together to get us an interesting triad pair kind of sound. Right? I just combined those two sounds. Now, I didn't do the same thing I did in the beginning, but if we were to combine that over the entirety of the blues, right? So we're gonna do it over C and we do it over D. Right, let's see what that sounds like. Now I'll just do just I'll do triad pairs, right? So that's F and G together, that's B flat and C together, and that's C and D together. right? So let's just hear what that sounds like. Right? It's kind of I was kind of thinking too hard looking at the camera, so I kind of made a few little mistakes in there, right? But hopefully you can hear the sounds in that. But you always have to bring it back. I can't reiterate that enough too. You have to bring it back to the original arpeggio. Otherwise, it won't sound like you it was on purpose, right? If you stay too far away for too long, right? So you want to bring it back as soon as you can, uh, depending on how you construct the lick or whatever, right? So, but yeah, those are four different ways that we can now influence this without just thinking about, just normal pentatonic or scale, scale, scale. We're thinking arpeggio, 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 right? So again, that was G7. That's B flat half. Sorry, G dominant seven, B flat. Not B flat. Half diminished. B7 half diminished, or whatever. That is D minor seven, and that's F major seven, right? So that's four different arpeggios that we can use to help our blues out and to get different sounds out of them, right? And then we still have our pentatonic scale, right? We got the major pentatonic, right? Along with all the other pentatonic and hexatonic scales that we just made and created with those arpeggios. But again, you want to stay closer to the arpeggios because that's where the music is, right? If you think about like even thinking about like this, what is that? That's just a half diminished. That's a B half diminished. This right here, what is this? That's just right. Look at that as a C, right? As a C triad. Right. So then you just think about playing that way, right? Right. So let's think about that. So we got B half diminished, C a triad to G7, right? So it sounds the exact same. I'm just taking the same thing as the chords and just spelling them out. But you're just taking them and playing them individually, right? So the arpeggio gets you closer to the music than a scale will, right? Hopefully that's being translated. And just to end this kind of quick uh, live stream, just so we I'm not trying to take up a bunch of time. And if this does well, maybe I'll make more. You guys can suggest maybe some more things you might be interested in seeing me do for you. But again, these things are like this gets you closer to understanding what you're hearing in songs. But don't get you closer to playing like some of your favorites, okay? I mean, well, it does get you closer to playing like some of your favorites, but you want to think about the fact that we're all playing the same 12 notes. There's only 12 notes. Okay. We're all playing the same 12 notes. So what separates uh your favorites versus you? And it's going to be three things. Three things here. It's going to be rhythm, and that's the timing and the arranging of the notes. That's going to be articulation, and that's how they play these notes, right? Is it legato? Is it staccato? Like more pointed? You know, whatever other kinds of ways. Are they sliding up into a note? Are they bending a note? That's your articulation. And then we have dynamics. Is it soft? Is it loud? Is it medium? Those are what give you or give some of your favorites their sound that's particular to them. Okay. So this is just to understand how to hear what they're playing, right? But to play like them, you need to understand those three key categories. All right. All right. I mean, that's pretty much it. I kind of wanted to make this quick. And I did write out all the permutations of the G7, by the way. And I asked ChatGPT about the rest. But just so you know how crazy it can get, this is how crazy it can be, right? That's 24 ways you can play the G seven arpeggio, the G dominant seven arpeggio. 24 ways, guys. All right. So then you combine that with all the other ones, right? There's four different other ones. So 4 times 24, what do you get? 96? Yeah, 96. And I asked ChatGPT for the rest. So you even have AI that can generate the rest of these quickly and easily. Okay. And then you'll have all those at your arsenal. How we can better play these arpeggios, how we can manipulate them better without sounding like a scale going up and down. Okay. All right. Hopefully this was beneficial. I'll probably try to make an actual full video on this and that's more maybe concise than this. I try to be as concise as I could be in this too, but maybe I'll make one that's a little bit shorter and maybe straight to the point a little bit. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, please let me know with a like or something. And that'll be all. I'll see you guys later.